Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being with us this morning for our first bed turning of our weekend. And we have helpers here. We've got Pat and we've got Faith. They're your Vanna Whites, hostesses this morning. So the question is, what is a bed turning? In the past, a quilter would use a bed turning as a social event, and she would invite her friends over to her home, serve refreshments, and show off her quilts. Before the guests arrived, she would spread her quilts out on a bed like this, and they would gather around as she described each one. That way, they could be up close and see what a great seamstress she was. It was a big part of a woman's acknowledgement in her family and in her community of how good a hand stitcher she was. So our theme this year is If These Quilts Could Talk, or Stories Told Through Quilts. So we're starting off today with Evelyn's Flower Garden. This is submitted by Donna Larson. She says, when visiting my family in Montana, I always look for quilts. My sister-in-law, Erin, is a partner in an antique store, so we go to estate sales and yard sales. This summer, I told her I was only going to buy quilts if they fit my criteria, hand-pieced, hand-quilted, and yellow as the main color. Erin found this at a large yard sale. The quilt's owner, Evelyn, remembers her mom piecing the entire quilt when she was very young, around 1950. Her grandma helped quilt it, and it was on her bed in Montana when she was about 7. I told her I would treasure it as she had. Thank you, girls. And then Donna says, after she returned home, Erin sent a picture of this quilt she found at a yard sale for $10. She said, I bought it for you. Hand-pieced, hand-quilted, and yellow, right? Flowers quilted in the center of the Dresdens, the scallop style edge. The shape of the Dresdens was one I had not seen before. Showing it to my husband with the light coming through the window, I couldn't believe what I saw. Pink stripes running through whatever was used as batting, so we don't have a light coming through. She said, I now have a hidden stained glass quilt peeking through the places where the stitching has come apart.
You can kind of see.
Can you?
Yeah.
On the front, you can see what looks like a woven cloth used as batting. My guess, it may have been a tablecloth. What a find for $10. Lovely. This is Felsky Wedding Quilt, made by Bertha Mueller. When Lynn Felsky was preparing for her parents' 50th wedding anniversary, she stumbled on an old photo of her aunt standing beside a quilt. She found out the quilt was made for her mom and dad's wedding in 1954 by her Aunt Bertha. The quilt had been stored for decades in a plastic bag in a cedar-lined armoire in the garage. Lynn's parents gave her the quilt, which she cherishes, and it has it on her bed. One of our quilt members, our quilt show chair, Audrey, is a friend of Lynn's and brought this to share with us today. Beautifully hand quilted. Yeah, you can almost show them the back a little bit. Yeah, look at all that hand quilting. Oh, so pretty. This is a 50th anniversary quilt. Karen Childs is the quilt maker. In 1951, my mom, Peggy, met my dad, Jim Henry, at church in San Francisco when she was 14. When she was 18, they married and later had 3 children, Karen, Susan, and Jim. I made this quilt for their 50th anniversary. It has photos of me and my siblings growing up and having our own families. At the anniversary party, the quilt was intentionally not finished. I hung the quilt top for display and had the backing laid out for guests to sign the stars on the back. So you'll have to show them a little bit of the back. Isn't that smart? So she had that laid out, and some of them have inscriptions. And then afterwards, she put all the quilt together. Lovely. What a great memory quilt. Okay, this one is one of mine. I was heartbroken in my mid-30s when my husband passed away suddenly. As I was thumbing through the newspaper, I saw Beginning Quilt Class by Patty Markini through Tracy Adult School. She taught beginning quilting, how to sew fabric pieces together, then into blocks, all by hand. So no sewing machine, all by hand. Because that way, you didn't have to go invest in a sewing machine. You could see if you liked doing it. So you'd mark the line on the fabric, and then you just sew up and down on your little seam line. But I was hooked, and I loved every minute. I made the most wonderful quilt friends ever. I didn't know there was a difference in quilt shop fabric or discount store fabric. So you can see where it used to be navy, now is becoming pretty faded. Not that being in the sun, it just happens. I wanted a poofier quilt. I thought the quilts were supposed to be puffy. So it has not one, but 2 layers of batting. And then I hand quilted all through that. So that was not the best choice. Thank you. That's how you learn is right. This is called Great Grandpa's Quilt, submitted by Lisa Claus. This very old quilt was probably made in the early 1900s. It was put together by Great Grandpa Callister when the family moved across country to Alpa, California, in Tulare County. If this quilt could talk, it might say, "I am old and my memory is faulty, but I can still keep a body warm on a cold prairie night. Each scrap tells a story. I don't remember all the stories, but I am stitched together with strength and family love." Lots of little stitches on that. This is a 50 state flower embroidered quilt submitted by Donna Larson. At an antique store in Boise, Idaho, I found this quilt and I had to add it to my collection. I have a 48 state flower embroidered quilt from the 50s and have been looking for this one to go with it. What luck! I believe the top was made in the 1960s, but the backing looks like maybe from the 80s. It probably sat undone for a couple of decades before someone else finished it. The embroidery is beautifully done and has not deteriorated. It's really, really beautiful.
Oh, that backing.
Well, this will wake you up. So this is another one of mine. Making this quilt was easier than it looks using a 60-degree ruler. The pattern and kit are from quiltageous.com. This was my pandemic quilt in 2020. It was made for my teenage grandson, but he chose another quilt that I had made. It was a lot of fun, but it's hard to find, like, where is the block?
Yeah. You gonna show us?
Do I remember? Let's see, where is the block? It would be, is it triangle?
Black triangle in the center.
If you look through your camera, the blocks will jump out at you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, ask me how I know. I made one, I won't make another one.
yeah, I agree with you. I think I guess it's just triangles put together. But the seam, there's a long strips. And you turn one triangle one way, you turn the triangle the other way, kind of going down like that. But great website. They have a number of, I love kits, and so they have a number of It's all together for you. That's what you like. This is called Double Wedding Ring, made by Lula Pope. And the story is by Judy Inlow. This quilt was made by my grandmother, Lula Pope, and others. It was a wedding gift to my parents, Donald and Alberta Smith, married in 1937 in Salinas. My parents brought the quilt with them when they moved to Leisure Manor here in Manteca in 1998. My mother was able to attend 2 Manteca Quilt Shows, which she truly enjoyed. It was during that time she gifted the quilt to me. Aww. Oh my goodness. There again, you put that solid on the back, and then you can see gorgeous hand quilting. Do we have some hand quilters still in the group? Yes. Yeah.
Yay!
Another anniversary quilt. It's Mom and Dad's 50th anniversary, Virginia Minette. Virginia says, I made this quilt for my parents' 50th anniversary in 1988. The blocks each represent different things in their lives. Places they lived. There's a motorcycle up there on the top right. Dad was a motorcycle mechanic. Names of grandparents, neighbors, names of dogs. Kind of the orange-pink silhouettes, right there by Faith, are me and my sister. The blue silhouettes are 2 sons, Andrew and Fred.
Can you lift it from the
Yeah, there you go. Kind of lift it up halfway. There you go. And then they moved from Virginia to California. There was Mom, Dad, 2 kids, 2 dogs, and a parakeet. And on the bottom, bottom over there by Pat, there's an applique of Virginia quilting and husband Henry fishing.
Love that.
It's an actual pieced quilt.
Actual applique. Dad enjoyed photography and cooking. Mom made ceramic roses and painted on canvas. This quilt was shown in the Manteca Quilt Show in 1988 and the State Fair. It was machine pieced and hand quilted by Virginia. A lot of love in that. What a wonderful way to keep memories. Has anybody ever made a memory quilt where they used, put your photos on fabric? This is Anna's Baskets. It was a laundry basket block of the month. Edna Powers says, I love the colors, very springy and happy. I always look at baskets where possibilities originate, formulate, evolve, and are stored. Laundry Basket Quilts is an online shop with a retreat center located in Camarillo, California. Founder and owner of the company, Adita Sitar, is a quilt designer, master quilter who travels all over the world with her classes, her workshops, and lectures. Edna has taken several workshops with Adita. Oh, beautiful. Then Edna says, my 4th of July basket was an entry in the Laundry Basket 4th of July quilt contest. The requirement was to use yardage from their pre-printed Stars fabric line. Using a basket from Anna's Basket Quilt, the one that you just saw, she created the basket design with pre-printed fabric stars shooting out of the basket. Kind of like a 4th of July fireworks show. Very pretty. Edna loves to...
What's on the back?
Oh, yes. Edna loves to piece tiny little pieces. She's an expert detail quilter. This is called First Quilt. Helen Sutton says, in the early 90s, I visited a display of Amish quilts at the De Young Museum. I was blown away by the artistry and decided I wanted to learn to make quilts. I took a quilting class that was offered at Delta College and made this quilt. I have used it ever since, and I've made many other quilts, but this one is special. Nice. That's
Used hard. Love
okay, this is called Spinner's Sample by Elaine D'Souza. She says, this was created in a quilt along. A puzzle-like quilt. It was easier to make than it looks. Each block was chosen for a learning potential, like ranging in size and complexity, designed to raise confidence, ability, and it was fun to make. She chose fabrics to go with her newly painted bedroom. And then when finished, she took it into the bedroom and she laid it on the bed for her husband to see. They were both overcome, not with joy, but with dizziness. She said, it's too busy. Neither of us could stand to look at it. So now she turns it over to the back side, which is calmer, and she puts that on the guest bed. Oh my goodness. But the back, she did a lot of work on it, so I was like, oh, that's pretty. What a riot. Oh, that's funny. All right, so that's our quilts on the bed, and then we have our stories over here. Oh, this is a great story. Our parasol ladies. This is submitted by Lisa Marisi. Lisa says, I was first introduced to quilting and needlework by my Aunt Marlene. She and my uncle came for a visit, and in a downtown Oakdale antique shop, we found the top half of Parasol Ladies quilt top, 6 rows across, but only 3 rows down. So that's 18 blocks. It could not be finished as it was, so we decided to take apart the blocks, divide them up, and each make our own quilt. So my aunt is mostly a hand piecer and always a hand quilter. And that's her aunt's right over there by Pat. And so her aunt set her Parasol Ladies in a unique design layout with vintage doily accents in the cornerstones. Oh yeah, I see them. Cute. And then a vintage trim at the top and bottom. How pretty. I love that setting. It's really nice. And then Lisa over here set her Parasol Ladies in a traditional layout using an embroidered table runner for the center. And 30s reproduction fabrics for the sashing. She says, my quilt was free motion quilted by Janice Skiles. It was an honor to be awarded President's Choice in the wall hanging category in the 2018 Manteca Quilt Show. I was very surprised and a lucky girl when my aunt gifted me her quilt for my birthday. So now Lisa owns both of those. And then the one in the center is called Sweet Dreams. It's a cute quilt pattern from Annie's Attic. The original design had Mama, Papa, and 3 baby bears, but that's not how the story goes, right? So 3 bears. So, any questions about anything, girls? Anything at all? Was it fun?
Yeah.
Every quilt has a story, even if it's, hey, I made it, I like the colors, or I'm not going to make that again. Like you said, it's like, I made that once, I'm not going to make that again. That's well said. So enjoy the rest of your time and look around. We have a demonstration by Joanne here at 10:30. We'll just turn a few chairs around, so enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.